Ahead of Apple's September event, some things about the high-end iPhone X remained a mystery despite a lot of pre-event rumors regarding the $1,000 plus smartphone. On the other hand, the Apple Watch Series 3 proved entirely predictable. We knew its distinctive feature would be standalone LTE service. Wearables with LTE connectivity aren't new, but the feature is new to the Apple Watch. So the move still marks a huge update to an Apple device that's been around for less than 3 years. And it's a big gamble for Apple considering other wearable manufacturers have tried and largely failed to make a good cellular wearable experience. The Apple Watch Series 3 ultimately comes in two types of models, with LTE and without LTE. Those who opt for the $399 LTE models expect the ability to make and take phone calls, respond to text messages, and check alerts even when their iPhones are miles away. I've spent just about a week with the Series 3 with LTE, and I have gotten glimpses of what it feels like to be successfully free of my iPhone. However, there were some problems for those of us who first tested the device, so I'm also quite familiar with what it feels like to be completely alone when wearable LTE fails. Designed, the Apple Watch Series 3 looks and feels nearly identical to the Series 2. Aside from being ever so slightly thicker, the Series 3 doesn't deviate much from the previous model. The only noticeable visual difference is the red dot on the digital crown that those who purchased an LTE model will have to endure. Each untethered Series 3 model now has the equivalent of a little red nose on its right edge, and it's only there to indicate the later connected device. I don't represent all types of Apple Watch users, but I don't think many people will forget they paid $399 for a tiny iPhone on the wrists. Also, red isn't my color, so the dot ends up clashing with most of my preferred wristbands. Thankfully, the dot is small enough that most passers-by won't see it. I mostly wore my 42mm Series 3 with one of the new Nike Sport Loop wristbands, which is comfortable for all-day wear. It's designed to be breathable for exercise and more adjustable than other bands thanks to its Velcro-like closure. I have small wrists, and regular bands for the 42mm tend to be too large for me. I like that I can adjust the Nike Sport Loop to the right tightness and still get accurate heart rate readings. As iFixit found in its Series 3 teardown, many of the Series 3 internals are the same as the Series 2. However, there are some important differences in the LTE models, particularly the addition of a slew of RF chips that presumably enable the standalone cellular service. Unlike other cellular-connected devices, the Series 3 has an eSIM inside rather than a regular SIM card that you could remove on a whim. The Series 3 with LTE models have the same second-generation OLED Retina display with Force Touch that the Series 2 has. This time it doubles as a multi-frequency antenna. Apple touted the new addition of a barometric altimeter in the Series 3 watch, which lets it count how many flights of stairs you've climbed each day. However, iFixit found a barometer in the Series 2 as well. This hardware may not be totally new, but it's possible that Apple activated it in the Series 3 and accompanied it with software in WatchOS 4 so it can quantify stairs climbed. That metric now shows up on the watch in the Activity app and in the corresponding iOS app. The wireless charging coil also appears to have been modified slightly, possibly to support Qi wireless charging. Apple explained that its forthcoming AirPower charging pad will let users charge multiple devices at once, including the Series 3 watch. The new processor is a big deal in the Series 3 watch because Apple claims it improves performance by 70%. The new S3 chip certainly made my Series 3 with LTE feel slightly faster than my Series 2 watch, both running WatchOS 4. App transitions, watch face animations, scrolling speeds, and more benefit from the improved processor. As mentioned in our WatchOS 4 review, my Series 2 watch slowed down a bit after updating to the newest software. While the wasn't slow enough to cause major problems, the Series 3 is certainly primed for running WatchOS 4 in contrast. With the introduction of the Series 3, the Apple Watch Series 2 will be phased out. It's a shame, because the Series 2 represented a great update from the Series 1 watch. However, this move is understandable considering the Series 3 is available in non-LTE and LTE versions. Anyone tempted by a Series 2 in the past could opt for a non-Tay Series 3, which has the dual-core processor, stair-climb tracking feature, and a mic'd-up Siri, in addition to the standard features found in a Series 2. The Series 3 models without LTE start at $329, while the Series 3 watches with LTE start at $399, and that doesn't include the carrier-specific monthly charges. A 38mm Apple Watch Series 2 left next to a 42mm Apple Watch Series 3 right. Default watch face on a Series 3. Heart rate monitor on the Series 3's underside. Side button and digital crown with new red dot to indicate LTE model. Control center featuring LTE button. Call options in the phone app. Siri watch face on the Series 3. Page 280. Series 3 watch means it's untethered from your iPhone, even though it's not totally untethered. You still need an iPhone to set up the watch. When within Bluetooth range of your own and working iPhone, the Series 3 works off of your iPhone's capabilities in many ways. Adding a Series 3 with LTE to your wireless carrier account requires you to link it to a number associated with an iPhone already on the account. That's why your regular phone number will still show up when you call or text people from the watch rather than appearing as another, random number. Before we get into using LTE on the Series 3, this device comes with an inevitable bummer: the extra cost of linking your cellular data to the watch. At Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon all charge an extra $10 per month to add the watch to your data plan. There's also an activation fee, but most carriers are willing to waive it. If you currently have an unlimited data plan, your new watch will reap those benefits. But if you have a data limit each month, any data your watch uses will factor into that limit. You can choose to set up the cellular features of the Series 3 when initially setting up the watch in its iOS app by going back to the cellular settings page at a later time. I'm a Verizon customer on a family plan, and setting up the watch initially didn't work for me. I tried again after making sure my username and passwords were updated and correct for my number in the family plan. I got further this time, with the Verizon pop-up window recognizing the type of Series 3 watch I was attempting to connect to my account. However, the process failed numerous times after I input a 911 emergency address for Verizon to have on file for the watch. After communicating with Apple and Verizon about my setup issues, the watch eventually connected to my account. Aside from this being one of the first pre-production Series 3 devices to be connected to Verizon or any carrier's service, I don't have an explanation for my initial setup problems. If you're like me and rarely forget your smartphone anywhere, at least not before experiencing a panic-induced cold sweat, you likely won't experience the fully untethered experience of a Series 3 with LTE. When your iPhone and Series 3 watch are within Bluetooth range of each other, the watch feeds off the iPhone. It's similar to how the Bluetooth-connected Series 1 and 2 devices work. But since the Series 3 with LTE has the DSIM inside, you can make calls from the watch and switch between using it or the iPhone as your primary speaker and mic device. The call quality is decent, too. You can adjust the volume of your speakers directly on the Series 3's display, and I found that the calls were crisp and clear. If anything, I'd like the watch speaker volume to go up even more. Fumbling with loud pots and pans in my kitchen easily drowned out the voice coming out of the watch. However, that volume limit could also be a good thing, as strangers around you may not hear everything coming through the watch when at its highest volume. If you move out of the iPhone's Bluetooth range while wearing the Series 3, the watch defers to Wi-Fi next. With Wi-Fi calling enabled, you should be able to make a call from the Series 3 since it remembers and automatically connects to preferred Wi-Fi networks. I did not experience the initial Wi-Fi connectivity problems that others had. Some have experienced the Series 3 being unable to connect to Wi-Fi or LTE due to it attempting to connect to Wi-Fi networks they had previously logged into on their iPhone or Mac. Apple explains this could happen with a coffee shop network you once connected to by accepting terms of service, or a hotel network you connected to by inputting a room number and password. I don't connect to those types of networks often, so I wouldn't be the prime person to experience this problem anyway. But I did have some clear problems over my few days of wearing the Series 3. For the first 2 days, the watch worked as I expected. Then, for some unknown reason, standalone LTE seemed to stop working. The watch would not connect to LTE when my iPhone was out of range or when I wasn't connected to a known Wi-Fi network. I took a walk around my apartment complex once, leaving my turned-on iPhone behind. Even though I was out of my iPhone's Bluetooth range and nowhere near my home Wi-Fi network, the watch face displayed a small red X at the top and the control center brandished a disconnected alert. Apple could not provide an explanation for this problem, only saying it might have been due to a minor coverage issue in that area. I don't think that was the problem, though, considering my iPhone was connected to the same cellular network while it sat in my apartment. I generally have 3 to 4 bars of Verizon service in and around my apartment complex. The watch was also disconnected while my iPhone was in airplane mode. Technically, the watch should work even in this scenario, although most users won't ever need LTE on the watch when their iPhone is in airplane mode. This problem may be due to the fact that iOS 11's airplane mode doesn't totally turn off Bluetooth or disconnect specific Bluetooth accessories like the Apple Watch. Wi-Fi calling from the watch didn't work a few times as well. While connected to my home Wi-Fi network, the watch would immediately drop calls I tried to make from my wrist. I had multiple other devices connected to that network at the time, but calls simply wouldn't go through. Eventually, this problem somehow resolved itself. After nearly 2 days of troubleshooting, the watch seemed to reconnect to LTE in every instance it should, when my iPhone sat abandoned in my apartment while I went on a walk, or when it was turned off in my handbag. I could check the control center to see how strong my cellular signal was thanks to those tiny green dots, or I could just glance at the Explorer watch face which has those green dots in the center. I placed calls from my wrist and my watch would buzz and jingle when I was receiving a call, too. Phone options on the Series 3 watch with LTE. New heart rate features with WatchOS 4. Revamped music app in WatchOS 4. But in the time that the watch seemingly didn't work, it was a headache to figure out why. Ultimately, I never got a full explanation and, because of that, there's no way to know if these problems will pop up for other users. However, what I can say for sure is that I wish there was a way to manually turn on and off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth from the watch. Currently, you can only toggle cellular on and off through the cellular icon in the control center. There's also an airplane mode on the watch itself, which turns off cellular by default. Considering the issues I had, and the issues others had with the watch trying to connect to semi-known Wi-Fi networks, putting a Wi-Fi toggle in the control center would be a logical thing to do. This would allow you to refuse Wi-Fi connectivity in favor of LTE. While that's not the best choice if you want to keep your cellular bill slim and the watch battery life high, it would come in handy if the watch tries to connect to Wi-Fi when you don't want it to. Same thing goes for Bluetooth. You can easily turn on and off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on your iPhone, so why not on your Apple Watch? The Series 3's ability to connect to cellular and LTE data by itself comes in most handy when you forget your iPhone or when you deliberately leave your iPhone behind. I do the latter when I walk a few doors down in my apartment complex to do my laundry, and it's great to receive alerts, make calls, or answer texts without having my iPhone in hand. The convenience is undeniable, but do I need to have that power every time I do my laundry? I already elect to leave my iPhone in my apartment because I know anything I'll miss on my smartphone can wait the 10 minutes I need to move clothing from the washer to the dryer. Others may leave their iPhones behind while doing outdoor sports and activities, and the Series 3's convenience increases in those situations. The watch remains waterproof up to 50 meters, so you can do water sports and swim with the Series 3 and still receive that important call from your significant other at any time. I could have used the Series 3 on my most recent vacation. I saw so many pool-goers with their iPhones around their necks in chunky waterproof cases, allowing the fingers to type text messages, check Instagram, and the like without destroying the smartphones. I didn't have one of those cases, so my iPhone stayed probably unsafely in my backpack at the edge of the pool. Next time, I could wear the Series 3 in the pool, not miss a call or text, and also not worry about the device succumbing to water damage. In theory, the Series 3 with LTE is useful in both everyday and emergency situations. It'll be even more useful when Apple Music streaming comes to the Series 3 later this fall. Apple announced that Apple Music subscribers will be able to stream tracks directly from the Series 3 while connected to LTE and paired with wireless earbuds like the company's AirPods. This is a feature I would make use of if I paid for Apple Music, but most of my music comes from Spotify now. Still, I would jump at the chance to leave my iPhone behind yet have an entire library of millions of tracks to listen to on an outdoor run or walk. Siri Speaks. We detailed the new Siri watch face in our WatchOS 4 review, but only on the Series 3 models can Siri talk back to you. The Siri watch face proactively gives you changing on-screen information depending on the time of day, where you are, and what apps you use most. I used it mostly on my busiest work days since it would show me my next upcoming meeting before I even questioned what was coming on my calendar. It was also good to glance at the latest headlines from Apple News. On the other hand, I wasn't compelled to use the Siri complication on WatchOS 4 on my Series 2 watch very much. I don't use Siri often at all, but I asked more questions than necessarily while wearing the Series 3 just so I could hear its voice. Audio feedback on the Series 3 is handy because it means you don't have to look at the display for every answer you seek. The only issue I had was when I was within earshot of my iPhone when saying "Hey Siri" to wake up the assistant on the watch. Both devices woke up after hearing that command, which is expected and presumably a common occurrence. Any device with a voice-activated assistant could wake up if it hears and processes a command, even if you weren't intending to ask the particular device for help. Realistically, I found myself looking at the display about 75% of the time that I asked Siri a question. That's probably out of habit, but thanks to its new audio feedback, I definitely didn't have to sometimes. Most often I ask Siri to set reminders and send texts for me when I couldn't be bothered to open up my phone or when I was washing dishes or doing something else with my hands that prevented me from using my iPhone normally. Battery life. The Series 3 has a slightly larger 1.07 Wh battery than the Series 2's 1.03 Wh battery. Apple claims the Series 3 should get about the same battery life as the Series 2 even with LTE use. In my initial testing of the Series 3, I found this to be mostly true. I wore my Series 3 with LTE all weekend, even putting it in power reserve overnight while I slept with it on. At the 18-hour mark, it had 20% battery life. During that time, I used the Series 3 to make a few calls, and it was periodically connected to LTE on its own without the help of my iPhone. However, that doesn't factor in any GPS use. You can be sure I would have had to charge the device before 18 hours of use was up if I had tracked a 15 to 30 minute outdoor walk using the onboard GPS. The modest battery bump appears to help the Series 3 withstand the effects of LTE use, but like the Series 2, you'll still have to charge the watch every night. While I've gotten used to placing the device on its charger every night, I'm still waiting for Apple to upgrade the battery to support days of continuous use, which plenty of other fitness devices already do. Specs compared Apple Watch models. Device Series 3 GPS LTE Series 3 GPS Series 1 starting price $399, $329, $249 Cellular LTE UMTS No connectivity Wi-Fi W2 chip 802.11 BGN 2.4 GHz Bluetooth 4.2 Wi-Fi W2 chip 802.11 BGN 2.4 GHz Bluetooth 4.2 Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN 2.4 GHz Bluetooth 4.2 Storage 16 GB 8 GB 8 GB Processor S3 Dual-Core Processor S3 Dual-Core Processor Dual-Core S1P SIP GPU Senses Barometric Altimeter GPS GLONASS Heart Rate Monitor Gyroscope Accelerometer Barometric Altimeter GPS GLONASS Heart Rate Monitor Gyroscope Accelerometer Heart Rate Monitor Gyroscope Accelerometer Apple Pay Yes Siri Yes or audible feedback with speaker Yes or audible feedback with speaker Yes No audible feedback Water resistance up to 50 meters Splash proof battery up to 18 hours Air power support up to 18 hours Air power support up to 18 hours Ambitious. Even for Apple, it's not easy to thoughtfully integrate cellular and LTE service on a wearable. A number of Android Wear devices have tried in the past, and none of them hit home runs. In my short time with the Apple Watch Series 3 with LTE, it's clear that Apple has the software chops to make cellular and LTE a seamless feature in its wearables. When my device worked as expected, it was very easy to understand when the device was running on LTE data alone or only connected to Wi-Fi on my iPhone. The telephone interface on the watch is great to use as well. With a number pad, your favorite and recent contacts, and your entire contact list, the phone app isn't nearly as cumbersome as I anticipated it to be despite the watch's small screen. The UI infrastructure to support cellular and LTE is there on the Series 3, but I can't say the same for cellular and LTE service. While my watch eventually connected to LTE in every situation it should have, I can't help but feel anxious about the potential problems other users might face. As mentioned before, my Series 3 with LTE is a pre-production unit and one of the first to be connected to Verizon's network. But you may very well be one of the first non-tech reviewer users to connect your Series 3 to Verizon or any other wireless provider and could possibly experience similar issues. That being said, I basically got a taste of what using a regular Series 3 watch would be like, and it was great. The new S3 processor makes for faster, smoother interactions with on-watch apps. Listening to Siri's answers rather than reading them frees up your hands and eyes to do other things, and the barometric altimeter consistently reported how many flights of stairs I climbed each day. While I'm disappointed with the phasing out of the Series 2, I understand why Apple did so. The Series 3 sans LTE is basically a better version of the Series 2, and since it's priced at the same starting price as the previous watch, it's a solid replacement. While I'd recommend updating to the non-TE Series 3 watch as an upgrade to anyone with a Series 1 or older device, I can't recommend the Series 3 with LTE yet. This device isn't meant to replace your iPhone, but it's still not totally reliable as a stand-in cellular and LTE device when your iPhone is nowhere in sight. The good battery life can stand up to some LTE use. Audible Siri responses make hands-free, eyes-free watch interactions easy. Improved performance thanks to S3 dual-core processor. The bad Y the red dot Y LTE models require additional monthly charges by wireless service providers. Quite expensive even before extra monthly wireless charges. Standalone LTE can be unreliable. The ugly no-on watch toggles to disconnect Wi-Fi and Bluetooth manually.